Good evening, ladies and menfolk. Welcome to episode 84 of Word Ninjas Live. I am your regular host and instigator of all sorts of insanity lately. And I'm going to ignore the comment in my head at the moment. Let's move on. My co-hosts are Will.
Hello.
And Justin.
Hello.
And some weird, handsome dude who just somehow hacked his way in. We're not sure who he is.
According to my lower third, my name is Smelu Nivlak. So let's go with that.
Works for me.
It's not a bad sci-fi name, actually. All things considered.
A little more respectable than Slutty Bartfast, at least. And for some reason, Calvin's screen is the only one that actually shows up in proper resolution for me. Everyone else is in like letterbox format, including myself. I'm going to blame the computer on that one.
Mine switches constantly between widescreen and 4:3. I don't know why. It's completely random.
Because Google.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my lower third's gone.
I didn't even see you have it.
I had it at one point, and then Calvin joined. He took it from me, apparently.
He does that.
And
Sorry.
it'll be gone forever. Yep. Thanks, Google. No, it's fine. I didn't want lower third or to advertise anything I ever do.
Well, as compensation for your lower third, would you like to do a talkie point for this week?
Yes, I would. A talking point I came up with just a few days ago. Actually, it was yesterday, but don't tell anyone.
No one will ever know.
So I was thinking about elements of story compared to real life and what overlaps were missing, and I was thinking about pets and if there were any pets in any stories that played a significant role in the plot that was not just I walked in through the front door, saw my cat, and then I did the things that I needed to do. You know, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for specific pets that were used in the story, maybe not effectively, but significantly. And so I thought this was something to think about, and we all took some time and thought about it, and we couldn't come up with much. It looks like pets is a not as well-tapped resource in storytelling than we might have thought.
Oh God, I came up with one.
Perfect.
And it's gonna make everyone sad.
No, I already said that one before you got on.
Okay, good.
Well, let's hear it from Calvin officially anyway, so it's on
Yeah.
recording.
The Jurassic Park episode of Futurama.
Yep.
Yeah, no, we already agreed we weren't going to talk about that.
Thanks a lot, Calvin. We weren't going to bring it up at all.
Hey, you didn't tell me while I was on. Alright, but alright, so we'll just leave it at the title.
If you've seen it, you're already crying.
Yes.
Just from hearing the title, you're already crying.
Yep. You probably started crying as soon as you heard the talkie point, knowing that we were going to bring it up.
Yeah, it seems like if pets are a relevant part of a plot, it's usually because they don't make it to the end.
Oh.
Sorry for whatever I just put in your head.
Oh. So many possibilities.
Mm.
When it comes to literature, and it could be because I don't read enough variety of things, but the only one I could think of that would count as a pet, and we've been arguing about this one if it counts as a pet or not, is the Astral Panther Gwenwivar from The Legacy of Drizzt. Drizzt's giant, super awesome panther from the astral plane that helps him kick major butt, and is an important plot point often. In fact, in Exile, for half the book, Gwenwivar is Drizzt's only friend and companion, and the only thing keeping him from going completely insane. But it did bring up the point: is Gwenwivar a pet or a companion? So we're still on the fence about that one.
Well, yeah. Now I wonder if the idea of it being a pet automatically makes it not interesting to the story. And if it really needs to have something deeper to be a part of the story, which kind of pushes it up the echelon from pet to companion. You know, even a tabby cat that has a significant role in somebody's life, probably even at that point wouldn't be considered a pet anymore, much like you know, there's a difference between a fish in a fishbowl and something that, you know, you give a hug to every night before you go to bed because it reminds you of your mother that passed away. You know, there's a big difference there, and I wonder if maybe
you never hugged your late mother's pet fish before going to bed?
No, not with both arms at least. So I've looked at some top 10 lists online, doing some brief research, and most of them were traditional pets. Like, they weren't your dogs and your cats. There was a lot of wolf pets. Game of Thrones comes to mind. And then there was a lot of, like, there were a lot of pets that really didn't play much a role in the story, but were still a character. Like Hedwig in Harry Potter doesn't do a whole lot, if I remember. Was
no,
really
but
sort of
we are going back to CJ's point about them not making it to the end.
That's true. Do we have a spoiler policy on this podcast?
The book's been out for years and the movie's been out for years. If you don't know that yet...
Then you probably don't know enough about the series to understand the relevance of that.
That's true. Yeah, that is interesting. It's almost as if pets in literacy are used sort of as an emotional gate for the character to express something without having to make any sort of weird commitment with another human character.
If I remember from the Harry Potter books, there were a lot of points where Harry would be alone, and the only one around would be Hedwig, and it was basically used as a way for him to say out loud his thoughts without anyone interrupting him, as kind of a way to formulate his own thoughts and come up with his own answers.
And a little bit of an exposition tool as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also a conduit to the outside world, as it could grab letters and news from the wizarding world when it wasn't locked in a cage.
Right.
Scabbers was more plot relevant.
Gizmo from Gremlins would probably fit. That was a pet that was largely the basis of the story entirely. And the bad things that came of it.
And I think the Mogwai was even pitched as a pet, even.
Yep. It was intended to be a pet.
Right.
Just
no, that's
a high-maintenance one.
yes. Very high maintenance. What was the evil Mogwai's name?
Stripe.
Yeah, Stripe.
Well, there were a couple.
The
There's
leader
the
was
main one.
Stripe, because
Yeah.
it had the white stripe.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be a lot of silence cut out of this podcast as we're trying to think of pets that have been used in relevant literacy or storytelling.
I can't think of any.
The only one that really came to mind for me was from the David Eddings quintologies, because I'm the only one on here that's read them.
It's on my queue.
But granted, some of the wizards can turn into wolves, and one of them married a wolf turned into a woman, but one of them found magic. One of them found a wolf with pups and then took the pups in, and the pups became pets, and those were thankfully just wolves and not wolf humans or human wolves or anything like that.
Not yet.
Well, the wizards do tend to live for hundreds of thousands of years, so you never know. Because magic. And prophecy. It's one of the classic prophecy stories, so everybody lives, except the ones that don't.
What about in your own stories, even as side characters that are only brought up once in one chapter? You know, pets can be a way to kind of flesh out the world a little bit. And I haven't written any characters that had pets, which is interesting. Probably because I never really owned a pet outside of being a kid and my parents owning a pet.
I gave Slash a dog at one point.
And then what happened?
I have no idea what happened to that dog.
Maybe it'll come back.
That thing was scary, so I hope not.
A few years ago for Nano, I attempted to do a Magical Girl spin-off story that the main character had a pet ferret, I think it was, who became like her like Luna, because I was mostly mimicking Sailor Moon. But it was originally a pet, and she kind of maintained it as a pet, even if it did start talking.
That's another series that kind of falls into the companion versus pet aspect. Both Luna and Artemis.
Any fairies or random creatures that follow Link around in any of the Zelda mythology could be considered.
I'd almost want to
companion.
say from Twilight Princess, Link was Midna's pet.
Yes.
Whenever he was in wolf form, he was pretty much her pet.
And most of the time, even when he wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, I can definitely say pets as a literary tool is underutilized, and I urge everyone to try to fit a pet into their story and then later cut it out because it doesn't move the plot along. But try it out for a little bit. See if your character gels with it.
What
It's
about
just-
pets in like the anime or manga realm?
Yeah, the ones that came to mind were all more companion than pet, like the Xseed race in Fairy Tale with Happy and Carla and Panther Lily.
Or
Yes, they're cats, but they're technically not.
and then there were the pets that were horrifically transmuted that we also don't bring up on this podcast.
In a particular alchemy anime that is not specifically declared.
Well, we can still talk about that anime and talk about Black Hayate.
True.
Or Den.
Which one was that?
Winry's dog.
Oh, yeah.
One with the automail leg.
Didn't know it had an actual name.
His name is Den. Not much actual plot relation there other than Winry has a dog named Den that has an automail leg, as far as I know.
Two come to mind. One is Ryo Oki from the Tenchi Muyo series.
But that was also a spaceship.
It served multiple purposes and helped to advance the plot in its own special way.
True.
And the other that came to mind was Blue from Wolf's Rain.
I was
That one just-
thinking about that one, but I wasn't sure if it was technically accurate considering what happens to that character.
For the first half of the story, she's a pet that is plot related.
Mm.
Those really are the only ones that I can think of.
And it does technically follow the plot rule for pets of not making it to the end.
But then again, to be fair,
With that one.
dot.
Mm.
We don't talk about that
Cute.
series anymore.
Cue more tears.
I've also been trying to think of like video games where pets are usable or even remotely relevant beyond just grabbing stuff for you, but
I sort of have one,
go for it.
but it's a bit of a stretch. From Final Fantasy VIII, Renoa has a pet dog named Angelo, and it's her limit break.
Oh,
So when she unleashes her limit break, she does special attacks with Angelo, depending on what tricks you've taught it, including firing it off of her arm bracer like a cannon, or climbing on its back and riding it into battle.
nice.
A little weird. I like the one where it howled at the moon and made my entire party invincible for a little while.
That's useful.
But that was really the only tie-in for that pet. Otherwise, you barely ever saw it. You barely ever knew it was there.
Yeah, I can't really think of any games where a pet is plot relevant in that respect.
You could argue Songbird is a pet from Bioshock Infinite. And Songbird does play many significant roles.
And does follow the pet rule for plot.
Yes, it does. Maybe I shouldn't write a pet into my novel. Or have it but never bring it up, because once you bring it up, then it obviously has to be killed instantly.
Is there a rule for pets in storylines, kind of like Chekhov's gun? Where if once it's mentioned, eventually it has to die?
The hero's pet journey.
Hmm. That would be an interesting short story. The hero's journey, but from the perspective of the pet.
Mm.
Well, the book would end halfway through.
Oh, short story. Hmm.
Do the Final Fantasy series chocobos count as pets?
None of them are ever raised as pets. They're raised as mounts, like horses.
And they don't really play a huge role in story besides convenient transportation and
The catchy soundtrack.
Does Gur from Invader Zim count as a pet?
No.
Even though it's a robot?
No, I wouldn't count that.
It has the IQ of one.
Gur was supposed to be an assistant robot masquerading as a pet.
It was in a dog suit most of the time.
That's a green dog suit.
It still counts.
Enjoy tacos.
No one ever questioned that. Oh, you got a green dog.
No one ever questioned anything in Invader Zim except for Dib, who questioned everything.
Hmm.
Here's one. Kur's the cowardly dog. He plays a significant role,
Yes, he does.
True.
and he is a pet.
That one's rather unique in that it's also the main character. But it is still technically a pet.
Hmm. I mean, if we're going to go that route, we can go to Animaniacs and talk about Mindy and Buttons.
Poor Buttons.
Poor Buttons. I can't think of too many.
Yeah,
There are just not that many.
I'm gonna write a pet into my fantasy story.
Although I can't think of the dog's name. Freakazoid had a dog for one episode.
Oh, God. Yeah, that didn't turn out too well.
No.
Dumbledore's Phoenix was kind of a pet.
Hmm.
No real plot device besides an allegory.
Spunky from Rocco's Modern Life.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
agreed.
Agree. Oh,
Spike from Rugrats.
Mm-hmm.
that was real quick. Freakazoid's dog was named Foamy.
Yes.
Brian from Family Guy.
Mm.
Although that's more companion now. Or
And he also followed the pet rule.
yes, for a little while.
That's to cover all bases in that show.
And I guess there's a lot of movies where there's a pet that generally the movie is about that pet following the pet rule.
Pet Cemetery.
Uh,
Okay, that's, I mean, a little bit different.
well, by that logic, Cujo.
Yeah. Oh, follows the pet? Oh, what was the dog from Sandlot? Did it have a name?
I think it did, but it was only referenced maybe once or twice.
If only we were all on the internet and could just look this up.
What is this internet you speak of?
Well, you look that one up. Santa's Little Helper and Snowball from The Simpsons.
I was gonna say
Snowball
that,
2.
yeah.
3 billion of them.
Snowball 2.
It was named the Beast in the
Oh.
Sandlot, and it was an English Mastiff.
I wasn't sure if the owner actually had a proper name for it, or
I
if
don't-
the Beast was just what all the kids called it.
I wonder if Rush counts.
I don't think its a real name was ever brought up.
Rush, Mega Man.
Mega
series?
Man.
Yeah.
Because he was the pet robot dog. He was Mega Man's pet robot dog, but you needed him to get through the game. So he was an essential part of the game.
Oh, don't do that. Okay. Ignore me.
Whether it was
Done.
that he flew or allowed you to go underwater or acted as superpower armor or whatever.
Them.
Oh my God, there were 2
Rush.
Sandlot sequels?
What?
Why?
I know that there was a sequel, which I refuse to acknowledge the existence of, but why would there be a third?
One came out in 2007.
That hurts.
That was not that long ago.
Yeah.
Wait. Who gets knocked back to 1976 from 2007 and relives his childhood? Oh.
No, thank you.
Not interested.
I would need a drink to watch that, and I would MST3K it the entire time. One last pet that I'll toss out there, even though I just had to look up the name, is Joanna the Lizard from The Rescuers Down Under. Technically a pet. Granted, to the villain, but still.
There's a lot of pets in villains. Villains usually have a pet that they.
But the pet usually doesn't do anything for the plot. It's
That's
just
correct.
True.
It's there for to add
characterizing the
humanity.
villain.
Yes, you know it's the villain because he has a pet usually.
Well, Joanna was after all the stupid eggs for everything, including the eagles, which was plot relevant in that movie. So there.
Yay!
That being a really good movie.
I think I may have to incorporate more pets now.
Mission accomplished.
But again, it's still weird writing a furry story and trying to incorporate pets.
Like I said, birds. You can have a toucan as a pet.
But there are anthrobirds.
Oh, damn. You could
Are
do the
there
Futurama
mermaids?
thing and have a human pet.
I mean, some people just include pets. I mean, I referenced that my characters eat pork products and beef products and fish. So there are what are known as feral animals, which are basically regular animals as we know and love them in the actual world.
Did anyone ever see, what was the Christmas movie where he got a reindeer? Was it Prancer or Dancer? It was one of those.
Who got a reindeer?
The kid.
What kid?
The movie was called Prancer or Dancer or something. And the whole plot was a reindeer came, and then the kid took it as a pet, but everyone was like, this reindeer sucks. Tried to get him to get rid of it. I don't remember anything else. I was a small child.
It sounds like a Tim
There
Allen
was
movie.
something like that in A Year Without a Santa Claus, where two of the elves took a reindeer to a city, and it got mistaken as a dog because they disguised it as a dog, putting socks on its antlers.
Impressive.
It was called Prancer. Came out in 1989.
This isn't that.
A farm girl nurses a wounded reindeer she believes is one of Santa's, hoping to bring it back to health in time for Christmas. Her holiday spirit inspires those around her, something her disheartened father is having trouble understanding.
All right, then. Merry Christmas.
Starring Sam Elliott. And Cloris Leachman. And Abe Vigoda.
Sounds like a Christmas classic.
Mm.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, I'm all out of animals.
Same
Pets doesn't necessarily have to be an animal, technically.
Mm.
Yes.
All right, moving on to the highlights reel.
here. Yes.
All right. How is this going to work on this computer? Even though I know I've done this before. No, don't show the show notes. That's cheating. All right. We have a couple news highlights and all sorts of other shiny bits. First one was actually submitted to us, so we thought we'd toss that in for this week's episode, but the article is 4 English mistakes you need to stop making. Now, the website is primarily more for academic and business style articles, but it's pretty applicable just for writing in general with this particular article. The 4 main bits are homonyms. And I know Justin had a commentary on this one, I believe it was.
Oh, I had a commentary on something that I would add to this list.
Oh.
But yeah, homonyms are bad and you should feel bad. Especially if you're writing comments on a forum or a YouTube comment or trolling Reddit. Use the correct your.
Yeah, your versus your, its versus its, affect versus effect. Peak versus peak versus peak. That one actually doesn't come up that often, at least for me.
I was unknowingly guilty of that one simply because I did not know of the P-I-Q-U-E spelling.
Oh, yeah. And then there's a P-E-A-K spelling, which is a peak is a material similar to Teflon. Actually, no, I think that's P-E-E-K. Crap. So yes, this rule applies.
Yep.
I know I was using a P-E-A-K for situations that probably required P-I-Q-U-E simply because I thought it was kind of metaphorical. Peaked as in the peak of a mountain, like their attention was peaked. I didn't know there was an actual separate spelled word for that. And now that I do know, I will try to use it.
Thank you, English language.
Yeah.
Esperanto. Let's do it.
Next one up is incomplete comparisons. Stuff like saying, my house is bigger. Well, bigger than what? We need the relevance to understand it. And that makes most sense if it's not in dialogue, but again, with dialogue, a lot of the rules go out the window because people don't speak normal.
Though there is a good example of how to use that in writing on the bottom. My house is bigger, he said, nodding his head toward the grandiose mansion rising in front of them.
Grandiose.
Grandiose.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's why we write, so we don't have to say it.
Yeah.
And third one is passive voice, which pretty much everyone is guilty of at some point or another. It's frustrating to get around consistently. But again, I think that one's more for the academic and business writing. In fiction, it's a little more passable every now and then. And the last one on this list is dangling modifiers. I'm sure I'm guilty of that one every once in a while.
Mm.
Everyone dangles their modifiers from time to time.
Just don't do it in public.
Yeah, they tend to frown on that.
One thing I like to try to do if I'm unsure if a sentence sounds right, and this goes for possibly both passive voice and dangling modifiers, try speaking it out loud and see how it sounds, or have someone else say it to you. That's a good way to kind of get a feel for if it actually sounds natural or not.
The one that drives me insane, and it probably only drives me insane because I encountered it again today at work while I was looking over somebody else's report, is using extra words to make your writing seem like it's longer when it's really not. Like
So
the
the
word...
nano-
The nano approach.
Yes. Using the word very is a big no-no.
Use it twice.
No. You should very, very not use it. And then there's a lot of words that don't really, that are grossly overused, that don't really add anything. Like suddenly, that's a tricky one. You can generally write your sentences so that they're shorter and more curt to kind of give the illusion of time passing faster than to openly express that something happened right away. And I think I'm probably very guilty of the suddenly scenario.
One thing for the passive voice that I was trying to remember just how it worked, so I had to look it up off screen, is if you aren't sure if it's passive voice, add by zombies to the end of it. If the sentence still works, chances are it's passive. Like, the bone was chewed by the dog, by zombies. Okay, that one doesn't work. What the hell? This test is flawed! What? How does that work then?
In the morning, his teeth were brushed.
By zombies?
Yes. It's basically the passive voice removes the noun from the verb, and it becomes a be, were situation, and the verb itself becomes passive instead of active. So the verb is no longer brushed. The verb is to be, and you want to try to avoid that. Something else that I was thinking of is because of the fact that none of those words mean anything and should be avoided. It's another padding technique for high school essays.
But all of those words mean things.
No.
It's the English language. Every word means something. Usually multiple things.
Even nothing.
You know, the thing I'm most guilty of in my writing is combining sentences together that don't need to be combined. I generally write as if two things are happening at the same time all the time. Like, I would always write something like, while he was walking down the street, he saw this. You know, there's always a compound in my sentences, which I need to learn to avoid more.
Well, it's okay to use that sparingly.
I use it for every sentence.
Yeah, a bit of variety is probably a little more effective.
I should just go all Hemingway on it. 3-word sentences everywhere.
Alright, the next piece up is how to offend everyone and make yourself cry. Writing diversity in fan fiction.
Oh.
Or go to Tumblr.
I probably just offended everyone by saying that.
If Tumblr would have agreed with you.
But this was an interesting article over on the Mary Sue, which can be applied to more than just fan fiction. It can be applied to most fiction in regards to diversity and handling that. But it mainly goes to ask you, as the writer, well, ask yourself, what is normal in the context of your story? If you want to have diversity in your story, make sure that it's explainable, justifiable. It just seems to make sense. If you're just tossing it in there because you want to toss it in there, or you feel that it's trendy or stuff like that, it tends to show up to readers and feels kind of shallow or just shoehorned in there. It helps to take the extra time to make it relevant. Or ask yourself, what could make this more interesting? That's a dangerous one, because if you start making your characters diverse just for the sake of diversity, or, gee, what if this character swapped genders with no warning? There's a lot of complications and repercussions involved in that you need to address, or at least factor in if you're changing someone's gender or preferences or habits or anything like that.
Changing it also because you're trying to take advantage of a stereotype for some sort of one-off joke in your story is probably not ideal either.
Mm-hmm. This is one of those subjects where it helps to do your due research if you're going to try and cover a particular topic in diversity. Don't just follow the stereotypes or what you think you know about them. Which I think ties into their third question of, what do I need to know? It does help to better understand what aspects of diversity you're trying to cover. Even if you don't put all of that research into your story, and chances are you're not going to need to because that's just info dumping, but having a nod here or there or show aspects that you've done your research and you actually do understand the logistics and depth behind whatever diversity bit you're covering, it really does help, and readers do appreciate it. And their next one is, what am I getting wrong? Problem with diversity is no matter what, unless you are specifically that aspect of a diversity, chances are you may fumble something or misinterpret something simply because it's hard to get a first-person perspective on something unless you are specifically that aspect of diversity. And unless you happen to have friends or family or other people you can ping your ideas off of and actually get commentary from, even the internet is not infallible. The internet is actually highly fallible. So you should probably take a lot of the stuff on there with a grain of salt. And I believe, no, not their last one. The next question was, is this a PSA? Like, are you just tossing diversity in to make a social commentary? Because if so, that's fine in the aspect of you're aware of the diversity and you want to discuss it, but be careful of how you discuss it because most diversity is still a very touchy subject. And you're going to make people cranky, probably no matter what, but it helps to have done your due research and actually put time and effort into whatever piece of diversity you're trying to factor in. So if people do get cranky at you, you can defend yourself and show them, hopefully, that you're in the right. And as we said, no matter what, you're going to make people cranky because people just like being cranky. What if you do make people mad? If you've done your due research, if you've taken your time and you've done it respectably, then you've done your job, actually. If you make people upset because you've done a good job showing diversity and representing diversity, you're in the right. The other people need to be aware of, hey, we are a very diverse and very weird world, so stop being cranky about it. And that's my inadvertent PSA that I didn't realize I was going to ramble about. Oh, good more. There's more questions. Why am I even doing this? Well, presumably because you are a writer, and you enjoy writing or have a story that you really want to delve into. This is actually a very interesting article that really covers a lot of it. I'm really just skimming over it. But it's worth a read, specifically if you happen to focus on fan fiction, but also if you're just a fiction writer in general, because they are aspects that you should at least keep in mind for when you're writing stories. Next up, a shorter piece on writing and the creative life. 4 tips on creativity from the creator of Calvin and Hobbes. How could I not put this in when I saw the title? Because Calvin and Hobbes is awesome.
Bill Watterson is amazing.
Yes.
If you can find him.
Yeah, there is that. But his 4 tips are, you have to lose yourself in your work. I agree with that one wholeheartedly. If you have an idea that you want to work on, and you set yourself the time to focus on it, by all means, lose yourself in it. That means that you have a passion for whatever you're working on, and it's best to feed those passions when you can. You'd be amazed what you can pull out when you actually set yourself down and focus on something you're interested in. Tip 2 was create for yourself. Another one I would agree with. You don't have to create for others. I mean, yes, if that's your job, if you are an artist or a ghostwriter, or if you're writing for a deadline, then yes, technically you are writing for someone else, but it's useful to write what you want to write, even if it's in your own time or on the side or whatever. Don't write just for everyone else. It can be fun by all means. I mean, I do it for my day job often enough, but create for yourself. Set aside a bit of time every once in a while and do something different or do something for yourself. That way you're not held up to other people's standards or expectations or requirements or style guides. Creativity is useful. Tip 3 was make it beautiful. Well, I don't have any witty commentary on that one. The details for that one that he added on was, my advice has always been to draw cartoons for the love of it and concentrate on the quality and be true to yourself. Also, try to remember that people have better things to do than read your work, so for heaven's sake, try to entice them with some beauty and fun. That's probably why Calvin and Hobbes was always so entertaining, because he made it beautiful and very entertaining. And the last tip was, every medium has power. That's something that a fair amount of creative people out there could use a reminder of, sometimes everyone has their specialties and their preferences and the styles and formats that they enjoy or appreciate. By all means, go for it, all out with those. And if you feel like experimenting, try other formats, by all means. But one format is not inherently better than another. And it's useful to remember that. There's a lot of artists and creative people out there that are unfortunately forgetful of that every once in a while and believe that their format or their style is inherently better than others. And they should stop that.
Different strokes for different folks.
Especially in art.
Hmm.
Yeah, this was a nice little short article. Worth a peruse if you have the time. And the second to last news piece was, where are we? New York Times, one of their smaller journals, had an article on a conversation with the authors of Becoming Steve Jobs. If you happen to have read that book or have been interested in the life of Steve Jobs, that is a good book to read, but it's just an interview with the authors of just how they went about it and all that. I am not going to go into that because that would take another 10-15 minutes, and I doubt Justin would appreciate that. But it is a pretty interesting interview if you're up for such things. Well worth the read if you have the time. And the last piece of news, although the video didn't load because I didn't set it to. Thankfully it doesn't autoplay. The X-Files is coming back to TV. And I'm hoping someone else can speak to this one because I have not seen I have seen one single episode of the X-Files. So I am not the one really to speak about this one.
I've seen most of the X-Files.
I've seen most of the X-Files, but not chronologically, and so I have no idea the overall story arc, unfortunately.
Oh, I know the overall story arc. It's confusing.
Yep.
I'll admit it got unnecessarily confusing when David Duchovny decided to leave the show, and they had to adjust the plot considering he was integral to said plot, but they made it work pretty well, in my honest opinion, and I'm personally excited about this and hoping that it'll become available on more than just Fox, because I don't have regular cable television. I watch all my TV online.
Are there any details in regards to this of, like, are they going to address the aging of the actors? Is this just a time jump?
I don't know what they're planning to do with this series. I think I remember the last episode of the X-Files, and it was a long time ago, but it was fairly conclusive, but also inconclusive, which was just very X-Files. The show had a lot of Mulder and Scully mostly figuring out the plot of what was going on and what the bad guys were doing and whatnot, but then there was always that little bit that they missed, or the fact that no one believed them or whatever. So there was always a little something more. So when the series ended with a something more, it just fit with the show. But I don't, like, nothing here. This is all I've read about it, what you have here, and it doesn't really specifically say what the plot that they're going to do is with this. If it's going to pick up where it left off, or if they're going to do it 13 years later.
It is kind of hard to interpret, considering their quote is, I think of it as a 13-year commercial break.
Yeah. So, and it's only like a 6-episode kind of miniseries. So it'll probably be one plot, and I'll assume it'll involve the aliens and the government conspiracy related to the aliens, which I won't go into here. One, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, and two, it would take me forever.
That's a podcast episode within itself.
It would be. bees were involved.
I thought the bees were only in the one movie I saw and tried to forget.
The movie, it made it into the show too.
Okay.
Because the bees were going to be used to spread. I'm
Something.
not even 100% sure what to call it.
Something.
Yeah, it was both bad and good. It was hard to tell who was doing good and who was doing bad in that series.
Why does everyone always use bees? Why is it always the bees?
I don't know. We need more bees just for pollinating flowers right now.
Yeah.
And the regular bees, honeybees, bumblebees, those are fine. Wasps and hornets can go F themselves.
Yellow jackets.
Yeah. Honeybees are fine, bumblebees are fine. The other ones can go away.
Yes.
But as for this, I'm excited. I'm hoping that it'll be, like they mentioned something about it being available on Amazon, but I'm not 100% sure what that means. I mean,
we'll see.
Everything has. Even PlayStation has their own TV series now.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen advertisements for it on YouTube. There is an original series coming out on the PlayStation Network.
Huh.
Interesting.
I didn't really pay attention because I don't have a PS4, so. But yeah, Amazon has their own series, and
Hulu has a few.
Yeah, everybody's getting into the make your own original shows thing right now.
I guess PlayStation Network can afford it since they're dropping the PlayStation Mobile format. Yeah, those are your news highlights for this week. As for other stuff, there is, of course, a new story bundle up, which they let me know of at lunchtime today. They keep doing that, and I keep getting upset because I want them. Especially this one, because this is right up my alley. They title it as Crossing Worlds YA, but it's basically fairies. Lots and lots of fairies. And fairy tales. You get 5 for name your own price. If you go, I think it was $12, you get an extra 4. And if you're subscribed to them, you get a 5th, so 10 overall. You have the Moonlands, the exclusive special illustrated version. I actually looked that up, and this is a story bundle exclusive. So that version actually has all sorts of illustrations in it, which sounds pretty cool, actually. That one's by Stephen Seville. You have Royal Fagard Book 2 by Anthea Sharp. And that one actually specifies it's a standalone novel. You don't need to read Book 1 in order to understand Book 2, which is good because Book 1 is not part of this bundle. Stop vibrating. You have Destiny's Hourglass by Nick Totano. You have Fairy Swap by Susan K. Quinn, which looks like a pretty fun little, possibly Freaky Friday style plot, only with fairies. You have Guardians Inc., The Cipher by Julianne Rosado McCain, something like that. You have Accession by Tara Edun. The font is very small. I have trouble reading these. You have The Fairy Tale Trap by Emily Casey. That one, I think I bought the bundle mainly because of that one. Because mirror magic and going into the Beauty and the Beast plot. And shenanigans ensue. You also have Grey Ghost by Mercedes Lackey. Anything by Mercedes Lackey is going to be pretty good. So I'm excited to read that one as well. And then you have War of the Fae, Book 1, The Changelings, and War of the Fae, Book 2, Call of Arms by Ellie Casey. So if you're a fan of fairies, a fan of fairy tales with a twist, then this bundle is for you over on Story Bundle. And next up is, we've mentioned on and off that we are going to Inconceivable 2015. They have less than a week left to go on their Kickstarter to help get more special guests and cover a few other extra things that they really want to put out for this year. So I thought I'd toss that into our show notes and promote them because they really are a good group of people, the people putting it together. We had a lot of fun last year. Mm-hmm. And it would be great to see them expand it even more for this year. And I think it was like $20 in order to get a badge. Yeah, for just $20 you get a day badge to go, and that's comparatively cost-effective for conventions, even the smaller ones. So definitely worth checking out for the details and see what they have in line and all that. And the last highlight is Justin's, because he talked about this on and off all last month.
Yes. Camp NaNoWriMo. So, for those who've participated in NaNoWriMo in the past, Camp Nano is a little bit different. First, most importantly, it's not in November. It is there's one in April, and there's one in June. The other month that has 30 days in it. So, Camp Nano does a few things differently. First thing is that you can set your own goals. So it doesn't have to be 50,000 words in 30 days. It can be something a little bit lighter in word count, or it can be, I want to finish something, I want to edit something, I want to do poetry, I want to write half of one book and half of another book, I want to outline my story. It's basically just a way for writers to get together and compare notes and talk in a slightly less strict version of NaNoWriMo. It's something that I'm going to be doing this month because I horribly failed Nano last year for a variety of reasons. And the current novel that I'm working on, my Act 3 is really bad, and it needs to be rewritten basically from scratch because it is awful. So that is going to be my goal. You can find me as Mechanical Justin on Camp NaNoWriMo as well. So if you want to be in a camp with me, you can find me on there and friend me. One thing Camp NaNoWriMo does also is it sets you up, instead of throwing you into the massive forums, which you can still go to, they have little mini camps where they select a bunch of people based on some requirements that you put in that are sort of like your bunk mates as if you were actually camping. So I highly suggest, if you haven't tried a Nano before or you don't have a lot of time to do the 50,000 word thing, to try out a Camp NaNoWriMo and make it into whatever you want it to be. April's got 30 days, it's very convenient, and I'm looking forward to doing it. So sign up at campnanowrimo.org, and it's Camp NaNoWriMo. It's short for National Novel Writing Month.
And I have a feeling even I'll participate in some minimal aspect to push my trilogy forward this year. And I'm pretty sure that it's the same username as the Nano sites, or at least I'm pretty sure I did the same, so it would just be YGJunkie85.
Yeah, so come join our camp.
And those are all the highlights for this week. Which means it's time for the Productivity and Inspiration Station segment. What's it?
Yay.
Yeah, well, since last week, my main computer died. Apparently, I managed to fry the video card.
Oops.
Or something equivalent. Apparently, that's just a thing that happened in that particular model of Macs. So at least I don't have to pay for it to be fixed. I just had to send it out and wait effectively a week in order to get it back. So that set me back considerably in regards to a lot of things I had to do, or wanted to do. So that really sucks. The only silver lining, besides not having to pay for it, is I was able to back up the entire hard drive before sending it out. So even if they reformat it, which they claim they won't, I can at least get everything back on there afterwards.
Always a good thing.
Yes. But I think I am going to also invest in another 1 terabyte external, because they're pretty cost effective now. And just do a regular backup rather than once every 7 months. I also finally finished reading a book, so I'm allowed to buy more. I finished reading Hermann Hesse's Gertrude, and good lord, that was melancholy. I forgot just how sometimes depressing that author can be. I mean, it was a very good book, don't get me wrong, but that character does not live a happy life. And I'm slowly progressing on my secret sketch of secretness. I'll get there before it's due in about 2 weeks. But I'm having fun with it. It's a nice thing for decompression between work and more work and flailing about because I can't do other work because of computer. And I also wanted to toss this on here. We realized, I think it was last week, that BookCon and Book Expo are separate completely pretty much now, but they're just both in the same convention center and all. So I took a look at the actual guests for BookCon, and good lord, I want to go. Guests. Oh, you should have loaded faster. Curse you. Come on, we're screen sharing here. Speed it up. Well, while it loads all of the headshots, I mean, it starts off with both Mindy Kaling and BJ Novak.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And also Nick Offerman, or Offerman, however you pronounce that one.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
That's, well, now I'm going.
Yeah, so
guaranteed.
those 3 names between The Office and now I'm blanking on his show.
Parks and Rec.
Yeah, that one. So actors from both of those, and Sex and the City right next to that one if you're more for that. But I mean, you also have James Patterson and
Julianne Moore. Wow.
yeah, I didn't realize that Taye Diggs was an author, but that's pretty cool. What also caught my attention
Colin
was
Bidwell. Wait a minute.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It
there's a lot
doesn't
of
look
names
like
on here.
the headshots are going to load, but you can check it out, thebookcon.com/guests. But there's a lot of good authors. There they go. There's a lot of good authors here. There's a big crew for the We Need Diverse Books campaign, which is awesome. There's also Cecil Baldwin from Welcome to Night Vale. There's, I think, 2 or 3 of his other hosts or helpers for Welcome to Night Vale. So most of the crew from that podcast is going to be there, which makes me want to go because they are awesome. Not to mention Felicia Day. A lot of also well-known YouTubers. Yeah, Joseph Fink from Welcome to Night Vale.
John Hodgman from The Daily Show.
Yep.
Oh, really? Didn't see that.
A lot of big
Actually,
names.
from Rotten Tomatoes.
Yep.
He's cool.
Author of The Princess Diaries, Meg Cabot. Something.
So what you're saying is that this con is loaded for bear.
Yeah. They've definitely gone all out in regards to guests. Author of the Leviathan series, Scott Westerfield. That's in my pile somewhere here. One of my piles, anyway. And those are just the guests. They also have a lot of events that they're coordinating and stuff like that. So I'm excited for that. I really want to go. And it was also entertaining to see just how many names I recognized. But yeah, that's me for this week. Next up is Will.
Let's see. We recently had some advances in our Minecraft server, mostly thanks to Calvin and his technical brilliance.
5 years of IT, yeah.
And he
Professional IT.
he got himself a bucket.
And then I
Has
set it
bucket.
on fire.
And then CJ set it on fire.
CJ's not joking. The first thing he did when he joined the server is set something on fire.
It was less than 5 minutes.
And sadly, that was the one part we didn't record.
Or on fire, for that matter.
But with the return to the Minecraft server, it got me thinking of things we could do, so I've had some small bursts of creativity and ideas for shenanigans that we could do on the Minecraft server and record so long as CJ doesn't burn it to the ground.
Just in case my character in Bedrock or something.
Might have to.
It'll be safer that way.
I'll make you. I'll tell you what. I'll make you a tree, a giant tree that you can burn all for yourself, away from all of our structures and builds. You can just go crazy. How about that?
Just have a teleport to like the CJ zone where everything is surrounded by bedrock. So if I set anything on fire or explode it or cover it in lava, it'll be isolated and contained.
This is the guy who randomly, out of boredom, decided to dump lava on an entire small island.
What, that was Lava Island.
It was in the middle of a forest.
Lava Island.
That one was entertaining because he was trying to burn the tree down, but it was raining, so the fire kept going out. So he upped the ante and dumped lava on the tree. And then he just dumped lava on the entire island.
I'm very sorry I missed that.
I think the island is still there.
It is.
Is it still on fire?
It is still
Probably.
completely covered in lava. Just go to the giant sheep's butt and then go west. You'll find it.
Okay.
You don't have to go far. However, I've been having sporadic internet issues again. Boo. So that makes doing anything involving the internet a problem. And I don't know why it's doing it again. I might have to yell at my internet provider maybe. See how it goes. And hey ho. I may possibly be making a Patreon for my writing-ness. Yay. It's still somewhat under construction though, so no sharing of links from me yet.
I got a sneak preview on the ground floor,
Yes.
and it is not done yet.
Yeah. It is not. It is
It
not
is in the
done yet.
Need more goals.
Yeah, well, start small, build up, foundation first.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more annoyed over you need to load up a banner or a video, and I was like, I don't have one. So now there's just this big blotch in the center of my Patreon page that says, this profile isn't done yet.
Yep.
That's totally professional. So there's still a few things that need working on, but it's on the works. At some point there will be an actual, I'll put up a link eventually. Not yet, once it's done. And that's all from me.
How about Justin?
So I was not productive last week at all. I didn't do anything. I set up my Wii U to bridge the gap between me playing video games and my wife playing Candy Crush. Also have a Wii balance board to help better track my weight loss and bulking up and trying to get some balance, do some yoga or whatever. We'll see how that goes. Cape Cod vacation this weekend. Excited for that, except that's going to snow on Saturday, so much for renting bikes.
Is it going to snow in Cape Cod, actually, or just
The entire day.
Northeast in general?
Cape Cod the whole day, the rest of the Northeast, or some parts of the Northeast, only in the morning from like midnight to 1 a.m.
Gross.
Yeah, it's stupid. I cleaned my typewriter again to prep for NaNoWriMo. Apparently, if you leave your typewriter uncovered for long periods of time, it collects dust in the type bar and completely ruins it. So I had to re-clean my typewriter again, and I got a cover for it and tested it today, and it works fine now that it has a cover on it.
Hooray.
And I've been inspired to write my fantasy novels, which is a problem because I'm supposed to be writing my horror novel.
Merge the two.
No, my horror novel already has some weird fantasy elements in it. Although I do want to do a real horror fantasy, I would say the only thing that comes close is probably the Dark Tower series.
Cool.
And you know me and Stephen King, so I'm sure there's a lot more out there. There's a lot of sci-fi fantasy stuff, not a whole lot of horror fantasy stuff. So, yeah, anyways, that's basically it. Haven't done a whole lot else besides work.
Have you sorted out your new webcam at all?
Yes, we tested out the webcam, and so I should be able to do live streaming. So yeah, this coming week is going to be really productive. My update on Wednesday is going to be filled with awesome stuff that I did. I won't be live streaming this weekend because I'll be in Cape Cod, but probably some evenings afterward, leading up to next Wednesday. And the camera is weird because it has a face tracking feature, so it zooms in on my face and follows my face while I move, which is incredibly unsettling. Probably will be very unsettling to the viewers. So I'll play around with that and see if I can get it a little bit better. Yes, expect many video games and live streaming coming.
Hooray.
Yeah, also, the other thing that I did is if you go to mechanicalJustin.com, you can check out an article that I wrote and cross-posted to a bunch of subreddits that ended up being very well regarded. There was some minor buzz on the internet about it, very briefly, probably for a week. It was the number 10 result on Google if you searched for the subject matter, which I consider a small victory, although browsing habits probably vary by what sites you already go to. I got a note from somebody that a Google Now card showed up on their computer, linking them to the article that I wrote.
Cool.
And that's really cool. So definitely check that out. Even if you're not a fan of anything that I bring up, I think the article is still worth reading. It's fairly short.
Yeah, it was very well written.
You should have seen the first draft. I wrote it at like 1 in the morning.
Oh, no.
And I woke up the next day and was like, oh, dear God. And went back through it and fixed it.
All right. And what did Calvin do last week?
Well, I made some progress in trying to get my music block unblocked. I was able to get some music going with much assistance from Richie, actually.
Nice.
Tinkered around with one of his ideas, and I kind of went to town with it, and it sounds great.
Hooray.
Now I'm hoping to kick this music block all the way out, or whatever way I can say I want to eviscerate this music block because it sucks. It might help if I got more than 3-4 hours of sleep every night, but that's a story for a different day.
Sleep is useful from time to time.
And by now you've noticed I got rid of 4 months worth of beard over the weekend, and now nobody recognizes me anymore.
So that's what's different.
I've gotten several reactions from various coworkers between "You look like you're 12," "Look at that baby face," "You look like a Marine," and the one coworker who just did not recognize me at all and probably doesn't realize that she saw me on Monday because I haven't seen her since. And then there was Minecraft stuff too. That's always fun. I'm trying to help put out that fire that CJ caused in the super tree.
It was a sky island. The damn thing hadn't fully rendered. How was I to know?
How was I to know that something that was made of leaves would be flammable and the fire would spread to other parts?
I do think, Calvin, that whenever CJ's on the server, we should make sure fire spread is off.
It would be for the best.
And that flint and steel don't work.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to figure out permissions for stuff like that. We'll see how that goes.
Well, to be fair, that entire area had been pretty edited from you. So I figured, oh, well, this is pretty high up in the sky. It seems like a little block of land. Obviously, it was just mist because there was nothing below it at the time. So it's probably nothing too important.
I really had to restrain myself from going straight up Michael Jones on you for that one. Because I kind of freaked out when I saw the tree on fire. Like, how the hell did the tree catch fire?
Well, you couldn't find me, so I tried to light up the night a little bit. I figured, oh, it's probably just dirt beneath it, and dirt doesn't spread that badly. It'll be fine. To be fair, you were well within your rights to pull a Michael Jones, because I pulled a Gavin. So.
I'm so sorry I'd stopped recording at that point. Because it looked like everybody was leaving the server, so I was like, I'm just going to be faffing about, and there's nothing interesting I'll be doing.
And the only reason Ed and I left was because internet issues.
Mm.
Right. I wasn't sure if you guys were going to be coming back.
We weren't either.
So yeah, that was last week for me. I don't feel like it doesn't feel like I got much accomplished, but I got a few things taken care of. So hopefully the coming week will be even better. Buzz,
Speaking of coming weeks,
well then,
that can wait. Can that wait? That can wait. Especially seeing as this is the end of the show. Those are all the segments. That's all we had to talk about.
wait. Do we want to talk about next week? And
oh yeah.
the thing we discussed?
The thing that we discussed that we didn't put in the show notes so that I forgot.
Thank God
That
I'm
we didn't
here.
really comment on anywhere.
Correct.
So just like how we at one point shifted from Sundays to Wednesdays because that's how our schedules have evolved, we're actually staying on the same night. It'll still be Wednesdays going forward, but rather than 7 p.m. Eastern Time, it'll be 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're hoping that this will allow for easier startup times on our end and for guests as well, for when we manage to get them on. 7 p.m. seems to be just at that barrier time when people are just getting home within like a 10-minute range, depending on traffic, or having dinner, or getting kids out of the way and put to bed or whatever. So we're hoping 7:30 is a little more feasible for everyone going forward.
Though ironically, this was the only episode that we've ever started on time, ever.
We were only about 35 seconds off.
And most of us were here early discussing the show notes, much like we will be doing next week.
Yes.
So it was very exciting. Practice run. Good transition. Good work.
Yay. Yeah, we'll also put it in the show notes for episode 85 next week, stating like, hey, we're starting at 7:30, so don't be surprised. Or don't ask us, where's the show, if we haven't started before then.
Should I make a PSA to post on YouTube?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
You have a whole week.
Sweet. Well, it's already pre-made because of the last PSA I made, so
Oh, yeah.
we're good to go.
Yay. With that, I think it's time to wrap up this episode. Unless there are any other PSAs that I forgot about. Justin, are there any other PSAs I forgot about?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, then. In that case, time to wrap up. If we entertained you in any way, shape, or form, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can watch, comment, and thumbs up all of our various videos, from all previous 83 episodes of Word Ninjas Live to our ongoing Game Break series covering BioShock, World End Economica, Never-Ending Nightmares, and whatever retro gaming Calvin tosses out.
There's going to be more SkyRage this week.
Nice. Those are entertaining.
Indeed.
And if you want to talk to us via social media, find us on Twitter at FCWordNinja. You can use the hashtag WordNinjas to more easily get our attention. You can also follow us on Tumblr at fcwordninja.tumblr.com, or go like our Facebook page, facebook.com/fullcoveragewriters. Converse with us, talk to us, ask us questions that we can toss out on future episodes. And if you want to help fund all of our crazy, ridiculous endeavors, go visit our Etsy store, which is etsy.com/shop/fullcoveragewriters, where we have all sorts of shiny baubles to entertain and inspire you. And all of those go help to pay for stuff like our audiobook recording costs, our convention attendance, press coordination, tech and recording upgrades, so we can actually all be on here at the same time without the internet imploding or Google getting cranky, stuff like that. And our weekly reminder that the Word Ninjas live show is brought to you by Full Coverage Writers, which is our overall organization that covers everything that we do. You can go check out all of that stuff, including Muse food posts, event stuff that we do, game break stuff as well. We post everything there, really, at this point. fcwriters.com, it has it all. And with that, if you want to track me down for whatever reason, God help you, my personal Tumblr is fancypantswolf.tumblr.com, and my Slash and Burn trilogy is slashandburntrilogy.tumblr.com. And just for fun, I'll toss out that I'm also on the Fairy Tale podcast as Makarov on Monday nights on their YouTube channel, which has been basically every other week, consistently now. So theoretically, I'll be on next week, because I missed this week. Because technology. Hey, Will, where can people find you?
People can mostly find me on my Tumblr page at darkhom.tumblr.com. It's DARKHOM for those listening. And for information about my ongoing story series, My Roommate's a Stripper, that's at myroommate'sastripper.tumblr.com.
And how about Justin?
You can find me at mechanicalJustin.com or follow me on Twitch at mechanicalJustin as well.
And Calvin.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at CCWII. You can find me on Tumblr sometimes at instacal.tumblr.com and SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/soundsbycalvin.
And with that, that is episode 84 of Word Ninjas Live. Thank you for joining us.
We did it.
Yay! Tune in next week at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time for episode 85. But until then, have a good night, everyone.
Adios.
Bye.
To that dog.
Maybe it'll come back.
That thing was scary, so I hope not.
A few years ago for Nano, I attempted to do a Magical Girl spin-off story that the main character had a pet ferret, I think it was, who became like her like Luna, because I was mostly mimicking Sailor Moon. But it was originally a pet, and she kind of maintained it as a pet, even if it did start talking.
That's another series that kind of falls into the companion versus pet aspect. Both Luna and Artemis.
Any fairies or random creatures that follow Link around in any of the Zelda mythology could be considered.
I'd almost
pet
want to say
companion.
from Twilight Princess, Link was Midna's pet.
Yes.
Whenever he was in wolf form, he was pretty much her pet.
And most of the time, even when he wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, I can definitely say pets as a literary tool is underutilized, and I urge everyone to try to fit a pet into their story and then later cut it out because it doesn't move the plot along. But try it out for a little bit. See if your character gels with it.
What
It's
about
just-
pets in like the anime or manga realm?
Yeah, the ones that came to mind were all more companion than pet, like the X-Seed race in Fairy Tale with Happy and Carla and Panther Lily.
Or
Yes, they're cats, but they're technically not.
and then there were the pets that were horrifically transmuted that we also don't bring up on this podcast.
In a particular alchemy anime that is not specifically declared.
Well, we can still talk about that anime and talk about Black Hayate.
True.
Or Den.
Which one was that?
Winry's dog.
Oh, yeah.
One with the automail leg.
Didn't know it had an actual name.
His name is Den. Not much actual plot relation there other than Winry has a dog named Den that has an automail leg, as far as I know.
Significantly. And so I thought this was something to think about, and we all took some time and thought about it, and we couldn't come up with much. It looks like pets is a not as well-tapped resource in storytelling than we might have thought.
Oh god, I came up with one.
Perfect.
And it's gonna make everyone sad.
No, I already said that one before you got on.
Okay, good.
Well,
know.
let's hear it from Calvin officially anyway, so it's on recording.
The Jurassic Bark episode of Futurama.
Yep.
Yeah, no, we already agreed we weren't going to talk about that.
Thanks a lot, Calvin. We weren't going to bring it up at all.
Hey, you didn't tell me while I was on. Alright, but alright, so we'll just leave it at the title.
If you've seen it, you're already crying.
Yes.
Just from hearing the title, you're already crying.
Yep. You probably started crying as soon as you heard the talkie point, knowing that we were going to bring it up.
Yeah, it seems like if pets are a relevant part of a plot, it's usually because they don't make it to the end.
Oh.
Sorry for whatever I just put in your head.
Oh, so many possibilities.
Mm.
When it comes to literature, and it could be because I don't read enough variety of things, but the only one I could think of that would count as a pet, and we've been arguing about this one if it counts as a pet or not, is the Astral Panther Gwenwivar from The Legacy of Drizzt. Drizzt's giant, super awesome panther from the astral plane that helps him kick major butt, and is an important plot point often. In fact, in Exile, for half the book, Gwenwivar is Drizzt's only friend and companion, and the only thing keeping him from going completely insane. But it did bring up the point: is Gwenwivar a pet or a companion? So we're still on the fence about that one.
Well, yeah, now I wonder if the idea of it being a pet automatically makes it not interesting to the story. And if it really needs to have something deeper to be a part of the story, which kind of pushes it up the echelon from pet to companion. You know, even a tabby cat that has a Gizmo from Gremlins would probably fit. That was a pet that was largely the basis of the story entirely, and the bad things that came of it.
And I think the Mogwai was even pitched as a pet, even.
Yep. It was intended to be a pet.
Right.
Just
No, that's
a high maintenance one.
yes.
Hmm.
Very high maintenance. What was the evil Mogwai's name?
Stripe.
Yeah, Stripe.
Well, there were a couple.
The
There's
leader
the
was
main one.
Stripe because
Yeah.
it had the white stripe.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I feel like there's going to be a lot of silence cut out of this podcast as we're trying to think of pets that have been used in relevant literacy or storytelling.
I can't think of any.
The only one that really came to mind for me was from the David Eddings Quintologies, because I'm the only one on here that's read them.
It's on my queue.
But granted, some of the wizards can turn into wolves, and one of them married a wolf turned into a woman, but one of them found it magic. One of them found a wolf with pups and then took the pups in, and the pups became pets, and those were thankfully just wolves and not wolf humans or human wolves or anything like that.
Not yet.
Well, the wizards do tend to live for hundreds of thousands of years, so you never know. Because magic. And prophecy. It's one of the classic prophecy stories, so everybody lives, except the ones that don't.
What about in your own stories, even as side characters that are only brought up once in one chapter? You know, pets can be a way to kind of flesh out the world a little bit. And I haven't written any characters that had pets, which is interesting. Probably because I never really owned a pet outside of being a kid and my parents owning a pet.
I gave Slash a dog at one point.
And then what happened?
I have no idea what happened. Good evening, ladies and menfolk. Welcome to episode 84 of Word Ninjas Live. I am your regular host and instigator of all sorts of insanity lately. And yeah, I'm going to ignore the comment in my head at the moment. Let's move on. My co-hosts are Will.
Hello.
And Justin.
Hello.
And some weird handsome dude who just somehow hacked his way in. We're not sure who he is.
According to my lower third, my name is Smelu Nivlak. So let's go with that.
Works for me.
It's not a bad sci-fi name, actually. All things considered.
A little more respectable than Slutty Bartfast, at least. And for some reason, Calvin's screen is the only one that actually shows up in proper resolution for me. Everyone else is in like letterbox format, including myself. I'm going to blame the computer on that one.
Mine switches constantly between widescreen and 4:3. I don't know why. It's completely random.
Because Google.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my lower third's gone.
I didn't even see you have it.
I had it at one point, and then Calvin joined. He took it from me, apparently.
He does that.
And
Sorry.
it will be gone forever. Yep. Thanks, Google. No, it's fine. I didn't want lower third or to advertise anything I ever do.
Well, as compensation for your lower third, would you like to do a talkie point for this week?
Yes, I would. A talking point I came up with just a few days ago. Actually, it was yesterday, but don't tell anyone.
No one will ever know.
So I was thinking about elements of story compared to real life and what overlaps were missing, and I was thinking about pets and if there were any pets in any stories that played a significant role in the plot that was not just oh, I walked in through the front door, saw my cat, and then I did the things that I need to do. You know, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for specific pets that were used in the story, you know, maybe not effectively, but a significant role in somebody's life. Probably even at that point wouldn't be considered a pet anymore, much like you know, there's a difference between a fish in a fishbowl and something that, you know, you give a hug to every night before you go to bed because it reminds you of your mother that passed away. You know, there's a big difference there, and I wonder if maybe...
You never hugged your late mother's pet fish before going to bed?
No, not with both arms at least. So I've looked at some top 10 lists online, doing some brief research, and most of them were traditional pets. Like, they weren't your dogs and your cats. There was a lot of wolf pets. Game of Thrones comes to mind, and then there was a lot of there were a lot of pets that really didn't play much a role in the story, but were still a character. Hedwig in Harry Potter doesn't do a whole lot, if I remember. Was
no,
really
but
sort of
we are going back to CJ's point about them not making it to the end.
That's true. Do we have a spoiler policy on this podcast?
The book's been out for years and the movie's been out for years. If you don't know that yet...
Then you probably don't know enough about the series to understand the relevance of that.
That's true. Yeah, that is interesting. It's almost as if pets in literacy are used sort of as an emotional gate for the character to express something without having to make any sort of weird commitment with another human character.
If I remember from the Harry Potter books, there were a lot of points where Harry would be alone, and the only one around would be Hedwig, and it was basically used as a way for him to say out loud his thoughts without anyone interrupting him, as kind of a way to formulate his own thoughts and come up with his own answers.
And a little bit of an exposition tool as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also a conduit to the outside world, as it could grab letters and news from the wizarding world when it wasn't locked in a cage.
Right.
Scabbers was more plot relevant.
Hmm.